think I would describe the Gypsy Rose that went into prison as someone who honestly was very lost and confused of who she was and who she's going to be. And I think that the Gypsy that walked out of prison is finally coming to her own and very accepting of who she is now and hopeful for the future.
Gypsy Rose is one of many public figures who became famous after going to prison. The difference is there's more sympathy to her tale than many others. She was a victim of a controlling mother. She oversaw everything Gypsy did. Worst of all, she put her through unnecessary and painful medical treatments. Gypsy went to prison for orchestrating her murder, feeling it was her only way out. Her story has taken a more positive turn now that she's been released. She's found love and is determined to make it last because she's become a mother herself. Gypsy's harrowing life. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was born July 27, 1991. Her mother was Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard and her father was named Rod. Gypsy was a victim of Munchausen by proxy, where another party forces someone to believe they are sick and require unnecessary medical procedures. Dee Dee began doing this to Gypsy from the time she was an infant. She began by telling her she had muscular dystrophy and needed a walker. Gypsy scraped her knee in a motorcycle accident when she was 7 or 8. She was fine, but Dee Dee told her she needed a wheelchair. Hurricane Katrina destroyed the family's home in Louisiana. They moved to southwestern Missouri. Dee Dee continued to force more and more unnecessary procedures. By 2007, Gypsy was on a feeding tube. The Oli Foundation didn't know it was unnecessary and honored her as Child of the Year. Habitat for Humanity built them a home with a wheelchair ramp in 2008. Their story gained significant media attention. Dee Dee did everything she could to maintain the charade of Gypsy as a sickly child, including forcing herself to use a feeding tube. A Munchausen by proxy expert said,
"We find feeding tubes such a common aspect of Munchausen syndrome by proxy because a feeding tube gives a parent almost unlimited control to poison and medicate, starve, and feed their kid."
She forged her birth certificate to fake her age. Even her daughter was unsure of how old she was for years. Gypsy knew she didn't need the feeding tube and could walk. She didn't speak up for fear of what her mother might do. She tried to sneak away from her mother several times, but to no avail. She tried to escape at an event in 2011, but was threatened and reportedly chained to the bed for 2 weeks. Her mother even told her she'd filed paperwork with the police, claiming she was mentally incompetent, so that if she tried to go to the police, no one would believe her. The internet was Gypsy's only place to be free. She contacted Nicholas Goodjohn on a Christian singles website in 2012. She also had a neighbor, Alia Woodmansey, to confide in. She told her new friend about how hot and heavy her conversations with Nicholas were getting. They'd even considered eloping and picked out names for potential children. Dee Dee tried to stop her daughter from using the internet, even allegedly destroying her phone and laptop. That didn't stop her though. She continued to talk with Aaliyah, who saved printouts of their conversations until 2014. Little did anyone know they would end up as evidence. The murder. In 2015, Gypsy arranged for Nicholas to come to Springfield. She thought they could pretend to meet at a movie theater with her mother. That would be enough not to stir her ire and let them slip away. Then they began a real relationship. Their internet interactions continued as well. Gypsy eventually began a secret plan to kill her mother, and she needed help to do it. Nicholas came back to the area June 10, 2015. Gypsy let him in and allegedly gave him duct tape, gloves, and a knife to do the deed. He stabbed Dee Dee 17 times in the back while she slept. The pair stole more than $4,400 in cash and ran away to a motel outside Springfield. They also mailed the murder weapon back to his home to avoid getting caught with it before going back there. They thought they'd gotten away with the crime, but appeared on security cameras at various stores. Concerning Facebook statuses on some of Gypsy's many Facebook accounts also gave them away. Family and friends tried to call, but got no answers. They also went to the house and noticed Dee Dee's car was still in the driveway. They called 911 when no one answered. The police came, but had to wait for a search warrant. A neighbor climbed through a window and saw that the house was mostly undisturbed. When the warrant came through, the police found Dee Dee's body. Police tracked the IP addresses from the account of recent posts to Washington and raided Nicholas's home. He and Gypsy surrendered and went to jail. They were extradited and held on a $1 million bond. The Truth was overjoyed to see that Gypsy was okay. but then the truth about her condition came out. Life during and after lockup. Gypsy was sentenced to 10 years in prison for her role in Dee Dee's death. She was paroled after 8. Nicholas was found guilty of first-degree murder and got life in prison without parole and an additional 25 years. She admits it was a relief from her previous life, saying,
"The best memory that I have in my entire life is the day that I got to prison and I got to go out to the picnic tables. And I'm like, I'm free. I'm free to have friends. I'm free to do what I want. It might be in a controlled environment, but this is nice."
Gypsy found love again in prison. She got engaged to Ken Erker, whom she met through a pen pal. They soon ended their relationship. She then married Ryan Anderson, a teacher from Louisiana. They wed in a prison ceremony with no guests. They separated March 28, 2024, and officially divorced on December 9th. Gypsy got out of prison on parole December 28, 2023. Her dramatic story gained worldwide attention. Max produced a documentary called Mommy, Dad, and Dearest. Hulu's limited series, The Act, was released in 2019 while Gypsy was still in prison. She released her own reality show, Gypsy Rose: Life After Lockup, on Lifetime in 2024. She's also been interviewed on a variety of talk shows, such as Dr. Phil. The Pregnancy and Paternity. Gypsy Rose and Ken Erker revealed their pregnancy news. They rekindled their relationship after she divorced her estranged husband, Ryan Anderson. She describes the progression as slow and natural, saying,
"We have a long history, and our history all starts with a friendship. And then there is just a soul connection that's there, that when you meet that person, no matter how much time has passed, no matter what relationships outside of that bond is made, you keep coming back to that same person because there's just something that is so special, and that's how it is with."
When the pregnancy news dropped, the world got interested in knowing who the father was. As Gypsy said, quote, "There's been a lot of chatter around the paternity of our baby, and while we've known for sure from the beginning, I feel that it's finally time to put all these theories to rest." She took a paternity test on November 5th. It confirmed that Ken is the father of her baby and not Ryan. Welcoming the baby. Gypsy welcomed a healthy baby girl, Aurora Raina Erker. She was born December 28th, exactly a year after Gypsy was released from prison. Ken announced the little girl's arrival with an Instagram photo. It was captioned, "Welcoming 2025 with the greatest gift of all." Gypsy says there's a special meaning behind her daughter's name. It's not what many who know her story may think. Some thought they may have chosen it because it's the real name of Sleeping Beauty, the Disney princess. Gypsy's mother made her appear like and believe she was a child for years. That treatment included frequent trips to Disney parks. Others thought it may be because Gypsy's stepmother, Christy, has a dog named Aurora Grace, but that's not it either. The name Aurora came from an interest that both Gypsy and Ken share. As she put it, both of us have a fascination with the northern lights, and the proper term is the Aurora Borealis. I think it was maybe in 2018, we wrote each other future kids' names on pieces of paper, and Aurora is what we both picked without even knowing each other was picking it. They also have plans to see the northern lights in person one day. Gypsy says they'll get a glimpse of the natural phenomenon in Sweden once she's off parole. Her stepmother and father will have to play babysitter when that time comes. What will they do now? Having Aurora has given the couple new goals for the future. They plan to get married someday, but are focused on being parents at the moment. Gypsy says she's most excited to give her child the happiness she never experienced. Part of that means maintaining a healthy relationship. As she put it, Ken and I both come from divorced parents, and the one thing we absolutely agreed on from day one, even back when we were dating in 2017, is that when we have a child, we'll stick together for the long haul. This is a forever thing because we don't want our child to grow up in a broken home. Now it's time to hear from you. Are you familiar with Gypsy Rose's story? What's the craziest part about it? Let us know in the comments section below.